how many of us let ourselves fart out loud, right? Or burp out loud? Very few, unfortunately. We've come to feel shame around having a human body. And so we pretend we don't. And so what happens when you pretend you don't have a human body and you ignore its signals? You lose connection with its signals. Oops. And when you lost connection with the signals, you've lost connection with the very core of being a human animal.
Welcome and welcome back to the Digest This podcast. I'm your host, Bethany Cameron, and today we have Victoria Albina on the show today, and we are talking all about how to regulate our nervous system, where to even find our nervous system, how to pinpoint where it's at, and all things healing beyond just the pills and supplements. So I really hope you guys enjoy today's episode, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's talk hormone health for a second. And I bet you aren't expecting me to bring up electrolytes when talking about hormones. But believe it or not, electrolytes are an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to hormone health. There are fundamentals in regulating your hormones like getting enough sleep, exercise, eating a nutrient-dense diet, favoring whole foods over processed ones, and hydrating with clean electrolytes are all key factors when balancing hormones. In fact, there's a study in the NIH that states electrolyte imbalance can result in infertility. And that's kind of crazy if you think about it, but it does make sense because electrolyte balance is quite significant for our health. It ensures homeostasis, maintains reactions, nerve conduction, and proper polarity of cell membranes. Needless to say, whether you're a heavy sweater or not, electrolytes should be a daily consumption and incorporated in your routine. But you don't want to consume something full of chemicals on a daily basis. That kind of defeats the purpose and actually puts you further away from your health goals. That's why I use Element's raw, unflavored electrolyte drink powder mix, which provides not only sodium and magnesium, but also potassium, which is also helpful in blood sugar regulation, kidney health, and bone density. And the exact ratio Element puts in each of their electrolyte packs is science-backed, resulting in the exact amount we need. You guys know I'm really picky about what goes into my body, so that's why I choose Element's raw, unflavored electrolyte mix, which contains just 3 simple ingredients. Sometimes I like to add a squeeze of grapefruit for a burst of flavor, or simply just drink plain. And you can add more or less water depending on your personal taste preference. Right now, Element is offering my listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. Just go to drinklmnt.com/digest to get this offer. Element also has a no questions asked refund policy, so you can literally try it risk-free. If you don't like it for whatever reason, they will give you your money back, no questions asked. You have really nothing to lose. So go to drinkelement.com/digest to get this amazing offer. That's drinklmnt.com/digest. You guys know we recently moved, and for our new place, I got brand new cookware and bakeware to help keep my new kitchen as non-toxic as possible. But the thing I absolutely hate about non-toxic cookware is that they are so dang heavy. I've heard great things about our place, non-toxic cookware and bakeware. So I got some, and to my surprise, they were super light, which is a huge plus for me. They look so chic in my kitchen with matching colors. And of course, the best part is that they are non-toxic, sustainable, and PFAS free. Our place is female founded and is truly worth the hype. They are changing the way we cook in a healthy, non-toxic way, all while keeping your kitchen stylish with trendy colors and designs that will fit into any kitchen decor. They're so cute, you'll want to leave them out on your stovetop and serve straight from the pan. Our place offers a variety of cookware like skillet, pots, pans, and even bakeware, which many don't even realize that their bakeware is also full of chemicals leaching into your baked goods. All their products are made without PFAS and are completely Teflon free. They even have a chic, non-toxic blender. So if you're always making smoothies, sauces, or even homemade baby food, this is a great, healthy, and safe blender to have. I know a lot of you are making an effort to buy grass-fed meat, organic produce, and baking ingredients as best you can, and I love that. But if you're cooking with toxic materials, chemicals are being leached back into the quality food you just bought. So even if you make the effort to get just one Our Place item, you can use that over and over again and slowly make the switch to a fully chemical-free kitchen over time. So invest in just one piece you'll use the most to prepare your food and watch the change. Once you check out all Our Place has to offer, you'll be obsessed just as much as I am. These are the perfect gift for weddings, baby showers, birthdays, and of course, yourself. And if you want to save some money, you know I got you. Just go to FromOurPlace.com and enter my code DIGEST at checkout to receive 10% off site-wide. That's FromOurPlace.com and use code DIGEST. That's FromOurPlace.com and use code DIGEST. And Our Place offers a 100-day trial with free shipping and returns. So you really have nothing to lose. I hope you guys enjoy them. Thank you so much, Victoria, for coming on the show today. It's a pleasure to have you.
It is an absolute delight to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I want you to introduce yourself and kind of give my listeners a little bit of background and history about who you are and what you do. But before we even go into that, I like to start off my podcast with some rapid fire yes or no questions.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so I'm going to say yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. Did I get it right?
Oh, uh-oh.
Did I get it right?
Okay.
I think I got it right. Did I get 100?
Well, now we're gonna go into the questions.
The second set of questions. Okay, go.
You may change those answers.
Oh.
So there's just a few. Are you ready? I'm already loving like this vibe and like this energy that you're bringing. So I hope my followers can feel it. All right. So you can only answer yes or no. Here we go. Question number 1. Is it true you can decline any medical checkup?
You can decline
at the
anything
doctor's?
at any point. You can always decline anything.
Okay.
Like we don't even have to finish that.
So no.
So
Yeah.
yes, you can always decline anything.
Yes.
What was the rest of the question though? But I just wanted to say that sort of writ large. But can you
Awesome.
decline any medical care? Of course you can.
Like, let's just say, like, is it true you can decline any medical checkup at the doctor's office, including to be weighed?
Oh, of course. The one case where if you've been 5150'd, if you are placed on an involuntary hold, then you've lost your rights.
Right. Okay.
Right. But that's not what we're talking. I just want to be, I am a very thorough human. So putting that aside, yeah, or if you're in the military industrial carceral system, you've unfortunately lost all your rights. But for you and me, going to our primary care provider, yeah, I don't ever let them weigh me. Not because I have an issue being weighed, but because others do. And I will stand up for myself and I will push back and I will educate the whole office that weight and health are not correlates.
I want to dig into this a little
Let's
deeper
go.
into the after these next questions here, because I love that. Okay. Can being a perfectionist be hindering our health?
Hindering our health. So could I rephrase that to having perfectionist habits? Could that negatively impact our health?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Right on. Yeah. So yes, I do believe that having perfectionist habits can impact our health in really suboptimal ways, in ways that doesn't serve us. I think the question, we started off, you asked about weight, right? And declining care at your primary care office, right? And I think that codependency, perfectionism, and people pleasing, all those mindsets, which I really talk in my work about them being the same thing, they can impact our capacity to say yes and no, to advocate for ourselves, to step into our agency. right? And to remember, I'm not here to be a like good patient. I'm here to get healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. I'm here to be taken care of. And so a perfectionist mindset tells us there's a right and a wrong, black and a white, all or nothing way to do anything, including be a patient at your primary care office, right?
Right. Well, and so many, I mean, everyone, we're all individualized. So how can you say yes or no, black and white to everyone where everybody is so different and it's hard to just give a blanket statement for everything?
For everything, sure. Yeah. I mean, there are some things in medicine that are pretty standard.
Agreed.
High blood pressure gives you a stroke. So beginning, middle, and end of that one, right?
Agreed.
But absolutely, we do all have agency, right? We all have the capacity to make the best choices for ourselves. Sometimes folks are doing that with informed consent and sometimes not, to be honest. I see a lot of BS in the wellness, quote unquote, wellness space online. But yeah, I think having the correct supportive information so you can make the best choice for you is incredibly important. Yeah, and perfectionism can stand in the way because we can sort of, I don't want to say the word fail, but we can like not make a decision for fear of making a mistake, right? Because there can be so much of that fear of making a mistake, fear of doing the wrong thing, making the quote unquote wrong choice can get really wrapped up in a perfectionist mindset. Again, because we're like, well, there must be a right way, right? And I don't have faith or trust in myself that I'll actually do it the right way. And so most of us are inculcated in this mindset that like the healthcare provider, like the human in the white coat somehow knows more than you, which is true, right? We've studied medicine for a very long time. But if you're telling me that you eat X and then you feel Y, I trust you. But that's what made me a really different kind of healthcare provider. If someone says, if I drink black tea, my toes hurt. I'm just saying the most ridiculous thing I can think of. My toes and my earlobes hurt. I'll say, oof, that sucks. You shouldn't drink black tea anymore. I believe you.
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, this is the perfect segue to have you really introduce
was perfectionism the perfect segue? Hey, I loved it. Oh, go
on. Okay, we're gonna have a really, really good time here. Okay, so, but yeah, why don't you just go ahead and just share a little bit about the work that you do to my audience so that they can kind of get a better understanding.
Yeah. So this is the point where I always want to make jokes, but I'm gonna behave myself. My brain was like, tell them that you build tall mast ships and you sail and you fight pirates in the open seas. No, but my brain wants to do that. Hi, brain. So I am a functional medicine nurse practitioner by training, and I left medical practice. I had a functional medicine clinic in New York City for many years. I was a primary care provider, and I work now as a somatic, master-trained somatic life coach. And basically what that means is that I use my decades in health and wellness. I also hold a master's degree in public health. I'm an epidemiologist, but who's the nerd now? I have a brain that really sees patterns. And the pattern I saw in my medical practice in folks with IBS, hypothyroid, depression, anxiety, eczema, fertility issues, on and on and on and on and on, was this underlying mindset in which they put themselves last, or they lived in resentment, where they were emotionally outsourcing, which is a word I did in fact trademark, emotionally outsourcing their sense of worth, value, belonging, connection, and safety from everyone and everything in the world instead of from within. And so I saw this chronic pattern of not trusting ourselves, not believing in ourselves, and thinking everyone else had the answers for our lives. And it correlated so directly with continued symptom profiles. And so after a while, I really realized that the depth of the work I truly wanted to do was less about the labs and the supplements and the prescriptions and all of that, and was really more about looking at mindset. So I shifted my whole career and my whole practice, and I now work with humans socialized as women who are working on codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing mindsets. And I teach somatics or body-based practices. And I'm trained through Peter Levine's Institute in somatic experiencing. He's the guy who came up with it. And I just love somatics or body-based practices. It's really incredibly life-changing.
Wow. And you had mentioned that a lot of people tend to put themselves last.
Sure.
And is that the most common thing you see that everyone has in common? Is that everyone puts themselves last? Or what is like the most, let's just say in general, someone comes into your office and you're like, I can almost guarantee you do X because everyone else does too.
Yeah. So I was sharing about how I define codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing habits, right? I put them in this overarching umbrella term of emotional outsourcing. And I do that for many reasons. One, I think those terms are both quite loaded. There's a lot of negativity around them, a lot of judgment, a lot of heaviness, and they like kind of just don't mean anything, right? Like the way it's like similar to how people be like, oh my God, I'm so OCD. No, that's a very serious clinical diagnosis, not like a casual thing to throw around. People are like, oh my God, you're so codependent. You went to the bathroom with like your best friend. You know what I mean? How people just banty that about. And so I wanted to come up with a term that really speaks to the commonality, exactly what you're asking about. And so what I see is this pattern in which generally in childhood or at some point growing up, we didn't receive a safe, secure connection with the three essential human needs, which are a sense of safety, belonging and connection, worth and value. Yeah, so just again, for our nervous systems didn't feel safe. We didn't feel connected to, like we were really seen, like we were attuned to, like our parents or the people around us cared about us as animals, like as humans, as individuals, right? And finally, we didn't feel a sense of innate or inherent worth and value, which of course then severs our connection with our inborn dignity, right? We can never sever our connection with our dignity, but the felt sense of our dignity, right? And so we dissociate, we check out of our bodies. We're not present. We're not intentional. We're not fully here, right? And that lack of connection and seeking to source those three core needs from everyone and everything outside of ourselves. I'd say that's the thread through. Like that's the thing I see in everyone. So you asked, does it show up as putting ourselves last? Of course. Of course. I was just talking with a client and she was saying she went on this camping trip with her mom and her siblings. And, she made sure that her younger brother, his bags were all packed. Her mom was fed. Everyone was taken care of the morning they were leaving. And she said to me, she was like, I was so pissed off. I was running around going, I don't even have deodorant on. I haven't even brushed my teeth and I've taken care of everyone else. Resentful of everyone else, telling everyone else how resentful of them she is, but still not stopping to do it. Which, as the oldest born of, I think, 5 or 6 kids, this was a survival skill in childhood, right? It was a brilliant, amazing survival skill that she has yet to replace with an adult survival skill in which she is the protagonist of her life. Yeah. And so that's really the thread through. We're not the protagonist. We don't have main character energy, right? Everyone else matters more than us. And so, Megan is an extreme, that client rather, but it can be way more subtle. Yeah. Taking on blame that's not ours, apologizing chronically, taking care of the house and the kids and the pets and the everything instead of like going to the gym. And what can feel really challenging is it can feel like we want to do the things because it is nice to take care of other people, right? Like it's gratifying. Of course, we're pack animals, but we've lost the balance, right? And so instead of generating joy and getting pleasure and connection from taking care of others, but also taking care of ourselves in equal measure, the scale's tipped, right? In a way that doesn't support our actual wellness.
Yeah.
And so that's what I see.
I can see that in a lot of people. And a lot of people may not even know that they're doing it.
Exactly.
And I think that's like the whole like aha moment is like, oh my gosh, who doesn't have a health issue these days, really, which is sad. But how many people have all these health issues? They've tried all the things. They've taken all the pills. they've done all the tests and the tests come back normal. The pills aren't working. What next? I think that's when someone may even visit you and be like, hey, look, how do I'm at a loss here. What do I do? And I think that's when you start to work on the more emotional side.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I would bring in functional medicine, right? Work with an actually licensed, well-trained functional medicine provider, someone who actually for realsies knows what they're doing. We just have to be careful out there. You know what I mean? And that's when I think it's really important. If nothing's working, it generally means that either you haven't found the right etiology through medicine, but often most likely exactly what you're saying, that there's nervous system dysregulation afoot rather. There is something within the soma or the body that is out of balance, to put it sort of colloquially, and could really use attending to.
So what are some ways that we can calm the nervous system?
So the goal is never to calm the nervous system as I just want to be clear. My goal in my work is not for folks to calm their nervous system. The nervous system is supposed to have spikes, ebbs and flows, right? So if you never had nervous system activation, all right, Bethany, you're being chased by a lion. Do you want a calm nervous system?
Heck no.
Absolutely not. I want my nervous system flipping the F out, throwing tables. Throw tables, Bethany. Throw tables. Run. Punch.
But will the lion be more aggravated if I throw tables?
A literal lion, I don't think you care about its feelings. I don't care about a lion's feelings, to be honest. If it's aggravated, that's fine.
Am I just gonna push its buttons by throwing tables?
Listen, I mean, have you seen those teeth, those talons, those claws? I'm running. I'm punching and running.
I've seen people, this is just a side note. I've seen people and they're like, oh, I'm by whatever, a wild animal. I stay still. I do this. I meditate, and I'm like, how do you do that? I don't know. There's some theories out there, but keep going.
Yeah. I mean, and yes, of course, brown bears. Anyway, whatever. We won't get into it. It's irrelevant. But yes, there are different behavior choices for different animals. It was sort of more of a metaphorical. Large predator is coming towards you. I don't want my nervous system to be calm. I want to take appropriate action. And so I think what happens on social media is you've got 90 seconds to make your point in your reel. And so everyone and their mother who took a 4-minute somatics course is making reels teaching people to calm their nervous system as though that were both Mecca and Medina, right? As though that were the ultimate place to get to, instead of having a more complex understanding of a biological system. And that the goal of biological systems is homeostasis. And for homeostasis, sometimes we need to rev up and sometimes we need to rev down. And the issue and when we find ourselves in nervous system dysregulation, which means imbalance, which means we're not in homeostasis. We got too much rev up, which looks like anxiety, stress, just sort of being constantly adrenalized, right? New York City, right? New York City, my town, is adrenaline, right? It's go, 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 go. And the sort of opposite is, the end opposite of having that revved up, go, 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 is being catatonic, right? Is being completely and profoundly shut down. And most of us, most of the time, are somewhere in between. What happens in, for example, depression or chronic anxiety is that we have too much gas, too much sympathetic activation, too much rev, or too much shutdown, right? And so finding a way to help the nervous system come back towards balance, that's the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what are some ways that we can do that?
Oh my goodness gracious. They're not sexy. People want some complex 12-step program that preferably has some pills, right? Like I've been seeing so much of this, like your cortisol is too high if XYZ, lower your cortisol on Instagram, which just make me want to throw the computer out the window or my phone out the window of a moving car, because that's usually not what's at play, right? It's about balance. So it's not sexy. It's not complicated. It really is the simplest, slowest, gentlest work. So if your nervous system tends to be dysregulated, pause and think about how you are relating to your nervous system. When your body says, hey, human, please take me to pee, do you say, let me finish this spreadsheet and then I'll listen to you, body? Let me just do these 12 more chores. Let me just get the laundry going and then I'll pee. Let me just, right? Let me do anything other than listen to this human body and do the most basic things. Pee, drink water, go for a walk, stretch, look away from the computer, right? Go get a hug. Go have regulation with another human or a pet. Instead, we just keep clickety-clacking, right? We just keep typing. We just keep doing.
I feel like so many people do that.
Oh, yeah. I think most of us.
Oh, yeah. Like even ignore the sign to pee.
Yeah, to pee, to poop, to eat, to fart. I mean, how many of us let ourselves fart out loud? Right? Or burp out loud? Very few, unfortunately. Right? We've come to feel shame around having a human body. And so we pretend we don't. And so what happens when you pretend you don't have a human body and you ignore its signals? You lose connection with its signals. Oops. And when you lost connection with the signals, you've lost connection with the very core of being a human animal. These signals are called biological impulses. And I start my clients out with starting by listening to your biology. Right? So before we can hear the delicate ebbs and flows of our autonomic or automatic nervous system, moving from sympathetic activation, adrenalized fight flight, to dorsal shutdown, an acetylcholine-based state, before we can hear all of that subtlety rather, we need to listen to, I has to pee. And we need to actually pay attention to the body asking to pee. So if you're looking for where to start actually regulating your nervous system, start with peeing, start with thirst, start with hunger. When you're full, stop eating. This is not a judgment of, none of this is a judgment of anyone, right? I mean, again, New York City, what are you doing? You got a sandwich and you're running across town, like shoving it in your mouth, chugging a coffee.
Yeah.
Right? We're not in parasympathetic, the rest and digest part of the nervous system. Often much of life, right? So it really is about slowing down, tuning in, and being present with self.
CBD has been clinically shown to encourage balanced gut health and immune function and can help ease discomfort associated with digestive problems. In fact, a study in the NIH notes that one promising effect of internal CBD use is, and I quote, the activation of cannabinoid receptors in the gut, which not only suppresses many of the IBD-related symptoms, such as diarrhea and visceral hypersensitivity, but also inhibits the inflammatory reaction, end quote. Additional studies share that CBD can inhibit inflammation, aid in patients with IBD, modulate intestinal barrier functions, help decrease intestinal secretions, as well as help with headaches. So you may or may not know this, but I have certainly tried and tested my fair share of CBD products dating all the way back to 2017, long before CBD was even talked about. And it was one of the natural remedies my holistic doctor encouraged me to take while I was going through my severe gut issues. And till this day, I still keep CBD in my bag of tricks for gut health and to help keep inflammation at bay. So how do you choose the right CBD for gut health? Because, well, in this dynamic world of CBD, knowing which product and type to choose can be a little overwhelming. However, the form and spectrum of CBD can significantly influence its benefits, especially when it comes to digestive health. CB Distillery is a company I have grown to love for their full transparency, USA grown hemp that is rigorously tested. And I just love that they display the most recent third-party tests on their website for anyone to view. They are not ashamed to share their results with nothing to hide. I personally recommend trying their distilled full spectrum CBD tincture, which contains just 2 simple ingredients: coconut MCT oil as the carrier and their full spectrum extract. That is it. CB Distillery also offers a 60-day money-back guarantee, which means you can use and try their CBD for a full 2 months. And if for whatever reason you're not satisfied, they will give you your money back. Guys, this is like a no-brainer. And on top of that, they offer my listeners a whopping 25% off your entire order. Just use code DIGEST at checkout to get 25% off and try it risk-free for 60 days. Go to thecbdistillery.com and use code DIGEST. That's THECBDISTILLERY.com and use code DIGEST. I'll also include that link in today's show notes so you can simply just go there with one easy tap. And speaking from experience, when your gut is inflamed, there's pretty much nothing you won't try. I hope you guys love it just as much as I do. You point out so many just things that people just completely overlook that are so simple. Like you were saying, why don't you just fart? Like,
come on now.
You know, if you're hungry and you're with friends and you've already had lunch and you're still hungry, have a second serving. Obviously, your body needs more.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like a lot of people don't listen to their body or the opposite. Like you were saying, hey, look, maybe you're out with friends, everyone's going out to eat, and you're like, you're not even hungry, you're full. Don't force yourself just because everyone else is.
Yeah, it was great. I went to I met a friend we were going to have lunch yesterday. And then long story short, she ended up getting a last minute invite to brunch somewhere that sounded better. She was right. The food was better where she went for brunch than the lunch I invited her to. So she got there and didn't eat. So like, ask yourself who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are your people? Right? Because she felt safe to come to lunch with my partner and myself and say, y'all order. I'm good. And she knew we weren't going to say, oh, come on. What do you do? We weren't going to shame her. We weren't going to do anything weird. We were just like, okay, cool. Can I buy you a drink? And I got her a lemonade, whatever. Right. So
I love that.
How are you attending to yourself, and who are the people you're surrounding yourself with? And are they people who support you doing you being you living life the way you want to, right? Because social pressure is a really serious thing, right? Especially when we come from codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing thinking, and we don't have that really embodied sense of self, right? We don't have a strong connection to who we are that leads us to trust ourselves, right? I now have a friend group that is just not interested in drinking. We're just not drinkers, right? We just know it's, quite frankly, poison. I mean, delicious poison, don't get me wrong, but none of us want to do that. So we don't. So there's never pressure in my world to drink because I've built a world where my people don't do that, which is not what we're interested in. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, totally. And you hit the nail on the head about your surroundings, the people that, your group, your peoples. How many times have you heard of someone saying, oh, I got out of a toxic relationship? It doesn't even have to be, a romantic one. Maybe it was a friend or something.
Sure.
And they're like, my health is getting better just from being out of that relationship. It's so connected.
Well, I mean, again, if we think about the role of the autonomic nervous system, so the autonomic nervous system is what we've been talking about: fight or flight and freeze, which are the two extremes. Yeah. And there's a huge world in between, right? Where we're a little activated or a little shut down, a little checked out, or a little anxious and worked up. Yeah. So when we're thinking about being in relationships that don't serve us, that aren't supportive of our best health, I, of course, go automatically to the nervous system, right? And to how being out of regulation keeps us out of regulation. So our nervous system has, like I was saying, these three sort of marker places: sympathetic activation, which is our fight or flight; dorsal, which is our checked out, spaced out, wait, what? Sort of just disconnected from life. Usually when we're doom scrolling with the TV on and like the laptop, we're in a bit of that. Usually, not always. And then ventral vagal is the safe and social part of our nervous system, the chill part of our nervous system. When our nervous system is in that state, ventral vagal, it's when most things work. It's when things work as best they can. That's a great way to put it. So from the top of the animal down, right? Our thinkings is our best thinkings. Our thyroid is thyroiding in a phenomenal way. Heart and lungs are working optimally. Diaphragm is moving with ease. Digestion, reproductive function, like everything is going as well as humanly possible for you as a human. And it's when we spend time in those dysregulated states and don't come back into homeostasis, into ventral vagal, that thyroid gets wonky, that autoimmune, that, right, et cetera. So coming back to your point about relationships that aren't in the best service of our wellness, our nervous systems co-regulate with one another. Co-regulating means that your nervous system impacts mine. So I think we all, Bethany, have you ever been around somebody who's like super anxious and you're like, all of a sudden, why am I anxious?
Oh, totally.
Do you know that, right? So that's their nervous system impacting yours. And like I was saying at the top of the show, when you asked about calming the nervous system, we want our nervous systems to be interdependently responsive, right? Because evolutionarily speaking, if the kid next to you is anxious, it's probably because he saw the cobra or the lion or the tiger or the bear, and you also got to run, right? Unfortunately, in these days, it could just be that someone had 14 shots of espresso or, a Red Bull or, right? Or just like got a text from their mom, like whatever. But relationships that don't serve us tend to be ones where that co-regulation, where my nervous system calms yours, grounds you, right? Like the way have you ever met a baby, or were you ever a baby?
I believe at one point.
At one point, like a couple years, like some years ago though, or?
Oh gosh, I don't even want to say.
Okay. Great. Cool. Anyway, so remember when we were babies, right? If we were upset, if we had pooped ourselves, or something scared us, a bigger human would go, shh, 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 and make sweet little noises and snuggle us and give us little kisses, right? Maybe it was a nice teacher, a nice babysitter, if not a parent, or pets can do it too, right? Have you ever seen pets that snuggle up little babies?
Oh, totally.
Oh my God, those are my favorite reels. Oh, I just love to watch interspecies love and pets with babies. That's like two of my favorite genres.
And the baby totally calms down.
Oh my God, it's amazing. The baby's like, what? And the puppy comes and everyone's calm.
You just feel that comfort.
Right? Yeah. And I feel it through the screen just watching, which is how the brain works. I won't get into things like reticular activating system, but I love to talk nerdy, but we can come back for that. But the point is, right, our nervous systems calm each other. So when we're in relationships that don't support our health, we're both not getting that health supportive co-regulation. And in fact, we're getting the opposite, right? And we're spending more and more time out of regulation. Yeah? Which has this overall net negative impact on our wellness.
And it's just a cycle and it kind of spirals downhill.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, because then we're more likely to be irritable, to be short-tempered, to be anxious ourselves, to not show up as our favorite version of ourselves, right? When we've been in chronic dysregulation.
Yeah. Well, I want my listeners to really take control of their own health, because I feel like so many people feel out of control. So many people feel like they are just doing whatever X person says, their doctor, their, whoever, and they're not getting anywhere. And they just feel like they feel at a loss. And I love what you said at the very beginning. Actually, my first question, regarding, declining being weighed or declining whatever, some sort of test.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people don't know that they have the power to say no.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that person that's like, oh my gosh, you mean I can actually, I don't want to say the word manipulate, but I can be the one here in the driver's seat? Like what?
Right. Yeah. You mean in regards to health specifically or life in sort of in general?
I want to say, I mean, obviously their health, but yeah, life in general, or maybe I feel like a lot of listeners are maybe at just like their end point of their health. And they're like, I have done it all. Like maybe all that I need was like, I already have it, and I just needed to like take control. Like as an example, myself real quick.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life where I was going through just like so many different health issues. And I was going from doctor to doctor and I was just doing whatever they said. And I was like, okay, then now I do this. Now I get this test done. Now I take this pill. And I finally was like, no. Like I at the beginning, I felt scared to decline the next step of what the doctor was saying. But I was like, obviously it's not working. I'm getting worse. So there came to a point where I was like, no, I'm going to stop everything. I went completely just stripped my diet, did kind of the opposite of what they were saying. And I was like, why don't I just go back to basics? And it was scary because all this time I had these quote superiors over me telling me what to do where it was making me worse. And to really say no and to kind of like take charge was very scary at the beginning, but it's really what I needed to do.
Yeah. So I think taking charge and control are sort of two different conversations, right? I am so glad that it worked out for you to stop medication and work primarily with diet. I'm so glad that worked for you. I am a licensed allopathic medical provider, board certified. Like, please don't just do that. I just want to say that to the general population. If you are listening, please find an accomplice in the holistic and functional medicine world. It is my preference that that is someone who's licensed, board certified, very well trained in functional medicine, right? To be board certified through the Institute for Functional Medicine is like 4 years, right? Like I've spent a decade studying functional medicine on the cellular level, herbal, like through herbal medicine, genetics, like please don't just start working with someone who like hashtag sells stuff on Instagram and tells you everyone has parasites and that you need to like sun your butthole and like take a parasite cleanse every 5 minutes. Like, please actually find someone who's doing evidence-based, real functional medicine. And I'm an herbalist, right? Like I was an herbalist first. It just makes me nervous, Bethany. I'm just going to just be really...
Yeah.
Like the hashtag wellness world is pretty bonkers. And there's a lot of, a friend of mine's mom had a fully operable breast cancer. And instead of getting the mastectomy or the lumpectomy and doing a short round of chemo and radiation, she got IVs, not mistletoe. Like she didn't go to a properly trained oncological naturopath who would do IVs of mistletoe, right? And like the actual, in my opinion and the opinion of the evidence-based, the right thing to do. She did like, I don't know, high dose vitamin C infusions and died like 3 months later from a completely operable breast cancer. And I hear this all the time, right? So it's both declining care. The Western medical system is effed. Like I'm not out here defending it, but I'm saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of really garbage happening. And there's a lot of quackery on the other side. And I want to really encourage folks to find folks in the middle. And you can do that through and I do not work for the Institute for Functional Medicine. I have no financial ties to them. Lord knows I've paid them a ton of money over these years. But find someone on the IFM site, someone who's actually trained, actually studied, who's taken rigorous exams and is using an evidence base, right? So again, I'm really glad that going off medication and saying no to the allopathic system worked for you.
Oh, and I was under the care of a naturopath when I was doing that too. So I want to preface that. Okay. I wasn't cold turkey, but
I just heard you being like, I said no and just went, what did you say? I went to bare basics with my diet, which that's smart.
I did. Yes. But I had a friend that was a naturopath and he
great.
took me.
Phew. Yeah. Okay, good. You had clinical guidance. That's what I'm saying. Please have clinical guidance. But read the data. Like my best friend, one of my best friends has terminal stage 4 cancer, and she's also trained in epidemiology. And so she declines medication all the time because she's read all the studies, right? She's doing the research so that she can advocate for herself in a wise way.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say too, if I ever got diagnosed with cancer, God forbid, I'm not to say that I wouldn't try chemo. Maybe I would.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a time and place.
Girl, please. I think it's so important to say that because I open Instagram and I worry. I worry a lot. So your original question was about control. And I think that's a really interesting path to go on. What do you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Right on. So what I see so much of in my clients is folks being controlling and feeling like and that being a stand-in for having control. Yeah. So one of the things I see very, very often is humans socialize as women for the most part. That's also who I work with. Being told that they're controlling when really what they're doing is over-functioning, which is a term from Harriet Lerner. And they're over-functioning because they're in relationship with folks who are under-functioning. Case in point, my ex was a dyed-in-the-wool under-functioner. And I would work a full-time job, see 30 patients, schlep the hour back from Manhattan, or 45 minutes back from Manhattan, and they would be on the couch eating hummus, socks everywhere, a complete disaster of a house, watching reality TV. No food had been gotten, no dishes had been done, right? Under-functioning, 100% not participating in life. And I grew up over-functioning, right? Coming in and rescuing and improving my worth, right? Remember the 3 essential human needs: safety, worth, and belonging. If we cannot source those by being ourselves, we source them by doing. That's why you asked, how do we regulate our nervous system? I said, be, don't do. Stop doing so much and focus on intentionality, on being, on meditating, on mindfulness, on being present with yourself and your farts, right? Science, folks. It's science. Listen to your farts. And so overfunctioner, underfunctioner couples, it's a whole trope within the codependent habit sort of world, right? It's a thing we see a lot. And it generally tends to be that girls are socialized to overfunction, right? I mean, help your mom clean up after dinner. The boys are going to go watch the football game, right? That's a whole trope, right, Bethany?
Oh, well, I don't know. I've never grew up there, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
But you've seen it in TV and movies,
I've seen it,
right? Yeah. No one ever watched American football in my house, but I get it as a concept, right? And so when we are in that over-functioning mindset, there's a couple of things at play. So we seek to control the world because we've come to believe that that's the only way we'll feel safe, that we'll belong, that we'll have connection, and that it'll be taken from us if we're not performing self, right? If we're not performing being who we think people want us to be up to their standards, right? That somehow all of our safety will be taken from us, often because it actually was, right? Mm-hmm. If we didn't get the A+, if our room wasn't clean enough, if whatever the barometer and the paradigm for the rubric really for grading us as good people, if we didn't meet that, there was punishment. Whether it was the taking away of affection or actual punishment. To a nervous system, taking away of affection is actually way worse than yelling at us, right? It's a lot scarier for a mammal. If you're yelling at me, at least you know I'm here, and if the lions come, you'll save me, right? Makes sense. So we come into this habit of controlling from believing we have to overfunction in order to be lovable and safe. And then we also step into the habit of overfunctioning and thus being in a controlling energetic towards the people around us, because the people around us are actually not carrying their weight. And so we come to be the ones who are labeled controlling, demanding, nagging, but it really is in response to humans socialized as men, often, not always, but often. A class is a part of this, race is a part. I mean, it's intersectionality always, right? But I often see it as the woman overfunctioning and being put in your controlling nag role, while the dude's just not. The emotional labor is all on her. And he's texting her from the store, do I buy this cheese or this cheese, right? She's never free from having to manage everything in the home, right? And so we're put in this role where we feel we have to be controlling because we're not actually being met in the way we need. Does that make sense?
Well, what would you say to someone that wants to be controlling? Like they actually want to be the person in control and micromanaging. Do you think that they really deep down want to, or they feel the need that they have to?
Yeah. So I would, that's what I was just saying, right? Of like, it's a survival skill reaction to not feeling like we had a sense of control in life previously, or that we needed to have that perfectionist sort of mirage around our lives in order to possibly, potentially receive our most basic human needs.
Because I feel like I've met a lot of people and they love being in control. They love micromanaging. They love telling everyone what to do or being in control of what cheese to buy, you know, all of that. And do you really think that like deep down inside, they're not really loving it? Like, and they're like, they just feel trapped? Or do you really think that there's some people out there that just want to be in control of everything?
I think there's such a difference between being in control and controlling others. Because I mean, who on earth am I to speak for anyone else? But I find that hypervigilance. So if we swap out controlling, the term controlling and hypervigilance is when our nervous systems are in that chronically on sympathetic activation, fight or flight, chronically looking for lions sort of state, as it were, in relation to the world. That often comes with catastrophizing, with globalizing, right? Where catastrophizing is the sky is falling, like a touch of the Chicken Little. You know what I mean? There's someone dear to me in my life who everything is the worst, right? You drop something, oh, F word really loud, like, oh my God, crisis, right? Everything's always drama to 10. I think that's a side of that controlling of hypervigilance, right? Where we come to see the world as a catastrophe about to happen, as a disaster en route, not as something with ebbs and flows, right? Something that it's normal and natural for things to be lousy sometimes and great sometimes, and maybe just 50-50, right? Middle path most of the time. But when we're in that desire to control everything, we are out of trust. We are out of acceptance. We are in judgment, right? Because someone else isn't doing it right. Someone else, we can't ever really trust anyone. I think it's evidence of a lack of trust in self and others. Right? Because if someone gets the quote unquote wrong cheese, there's no wrong cheese. All cheese is good cheese. Please, come on, Beth. I think my digestive system would have a little.
Speak otherwise.
Yes, please, indeed. But my mouth says there's no bad cheese. But American cheese isn't really cheese, is it? It's like mostly plastic. I feel like that's the the one cheese I would object to because it's not really cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. But give me a good Dubliner, a good Jarlsberg. Oh my, get out of here with that. I'm not even hungry. And now I'm like salivating. Talk about biological impulses, right? My nervous system is like, listen, it's cheese time. But if you're hyper concerned with someone buying the quote unquote wrong cheese, what are you saying about yourself and your relationship to that person, to yourself, to the world? Like, why not just go with the flow? Right? And be in acceptance of life as it comes, of the cheese as it appears before you.
Maybe that cheese is going to be your favorite now.
You don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't even have, I mean, maybe you've not had Jarlsberg. And I got to tell you, it's delicious. It's delicious. So, right. So I don't, you know, you asked, does anyone actually like being controlling? What does like even mean? Are they receiving some adrenaline and maybe some dopamine from feeling superior, right? Because controlling others, it's a superiority stance, right? I'm better than you. I know better than you. I don't trust you. And I don't trust me to be easeful when you come home with a cheese I don't like, right? When you buy the wrong paper towels, when, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't trust either one of us. And I just also don't trust that life will be okay. you know, if you do it your way.
Victoria, you did mention, like, you did say a good point, is like, what benefit are they getting from being controlling? Because I've never met a person or known other people to be like, hey, this person over here, they're so controlling, I love them. Typically, the people that are controlling are not liked.
It's a great point. I mean, so if we back up and we take a nervous system stance, we're all living in reenactment, where reenactment is kind of exactly what it sounds like. We act out situations from the past in the now, because the nervous system is not linear. It doesn't understand 20 years ago, 40 years ago, today, tomorrow, right? It's a timeless system. Time's a social construct anyway, but I would digress. So the nervous system is acting out the past today in the hopes of creating a different outcome. So if something terrible happened when you were 6, and the story you tell is, if only I had controlled the situation, X wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have died. He wouldn't have fallen down the stairs. They wouldn't have screamed at me. I wouldn't have, you know, whatever horrific outcome, or even just like lousy outcome, because it doesn't have to be horror to be trauma, right? Then the nervous system is chronically seeking to right that wrong, as it were. And if you don't realize that's what you're doing, you're gonna keep doing it, right? That's how the nervous system works.
Yeah. And that can have definitely physical effects on your health. That could have digestive issues. It could have skin issues.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yes, if you're in a chronically dysregulated, hypervigilant state, like we were saying, the autonomic or automatic nervous system works optimally. And there's the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, the longest nerve in the human body, is the one that drives the bus of the autonomic nervous system and moves us through these 3 states. And that works optimally, when we're chill and when we're just like, yo, cheese is cheese. Just please don't get the American, like get real cheese. If it's made from cows or goats or like other mammals, bring it home. And if it's made from plastic, we'll skip that.
Yeah. I love that we keep going back to cheese.
Listen, I'm here for it. You changed the name of the show to the Cheese Podcast, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, great.
Note to the editor.
Rebranded. I love it. But yeah, you know, the more we can relax and actually just let life be life while taking personal responsibility, right? While doing the things we need to do in life. But I guess, you know, doing it with ease. And that's what nervous system regulation, that's what somatic or body-based practices allow us to do, right? Is to have agency, choicefulness instead of being controlling, instead of being hypervigilant, because it allows our nervous system to flow and to move between all the states with ease instead of being hijacked by old programming and stories like I have to be hypervigilant and controlling in order to survive, because we know that's both untrue and doesn't serve us, right?
Yeah. Well, we touched on so many different things.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, what can you leave my listeners with as far as, and I hate to say like a blanket statement, but what is just some really, really good advice that you would share for someone trying to regulate their nervous system or just going through a really hard time in life right now?
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm going to go back to just focusing on being, right? And I for those who are hearing that and are like, what does that mean? It means before you take a sip of your morning coffee, just take 2 seconds. And I know what it's like to wake up and the house is busy and there's people running around and the dog peed on the, you know what I'm like? And I believe that even the busiest of mama bears can take 2 seconds to hold your cuppa in the morning, feel the weight of it, feel the temperature, actually smell it. You've added a whole 4 seconds to your morning routine. Let's see if the system can hold, right? But taking those 4 seconds to get present to something external to you and then get present internal. So just taking a breath and feeling your body, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling the seat holding you if you're in a chair, and just being present to self. And I really want to encourage you to allow this to take all of 4 to 12 seconds. You know, people are like, oh, if you're really stressed, meditate for an hour. Jump off a bridge with that kind of talking. You know what I'm saying? That silly goose talk. Don't be a silly goose. 4 seconds, 12 seconds. Feel the breath moving in your nostrils and out. Yeah.
I'm already like, you're calming me down right now.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Ah,
Yeah. Just let yourself be calm. Let yourself be present. That's my main recommendation, is work on cultivating presence, right? Because mindfulness is one of the greatest keys to our own inner workings. Because how do you know what's going on in your nervous system? Like everyone's like wants to regulate the nervous system. I'm game, but where's it now? What's it feel like now?
Yeah.
Right. You want to change something without getting to know it.
Yeah. How can you change it without knowing where it's at?
Yeah. Yeah. So starting there. Yeah. And I have a present for your listeners.
Oh.
Yay. Isn't that fun?
Well, what is it? I'm curious.
So if you head over to victoriaalbina.com/digest this, you can download a suite of meditations, nervous system regulating, supportive downloads, inner child meditations. It's all free. Thanks for being a listener to this show. Thanks for tuning in. victoriaalbina.com/digest this, DIGESTTHIS. You can download that. So it's free for you to have. Yeah, it's just yours. Thank you. I want this to be a more regulated world.
Thank you, Victoria. Yeah. And we'll make sure we put that link in today's show notes so you can go there and easily tap on it and it'll take you directly there.
Amazing.
And then also, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, right on. So I have a podcast called Feminist Wellness. It's free everywhere you get your podcast. Check it out. I'm on Instagram and all the socials at Victoria Albina Wellness. I give good gram. That's about it. Yeah, I run 2 programs if folks want to work with me. One is called Anchored, which is a 6-month program. Lots of coaching, breath work, meditation, somatics, of course, body-based practices and nervous system regulation work. That is the primary thing we do in there. And that is for humans socialized as women seeking to overcome their emotional outsourcing. That's called Anchored, victoriaalbina.com/anchored. My other program is for folks who want a shorter experience. It's 3 months. It's called the Somatic Studio. If you head to victoriaalbina.com/ TSS, The Somatic Studio. You can learn more about that.
Awesome. We'll be sure to put those links in today's show notes too, so people can just easily access them all. And again, thank you so much, Victoria, for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Digest This. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review in your podcast app to let us know. If you're ever wondering how you can support me and this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family is the best way. This is a Resonant Media production produced by Drake Peterson and edited by Mike Fry. To email the show, message us at digestthispod@gmail.com. See you next time. The content of this show is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for individual medical and mental health advice and does not constitute a provider-patient relationship. As always, talk to your doctor or health team first.